Ever get yourself wondering if, like, maybe we're all just living in some giant simulation? It's kind of wild to think
Yeah.
about, right? Well, today we're going deep on this, but not in a sci-fi way. We're looking at this thing called the Testament of the Simulated Architect.
Yeah, it's definitely not your typical read. Like, they're treating a simulated universe as, get this, scripture.
That's what caught my eye. Scripture for who, exactly?
Joe, it's the main text for this group. They call themselves the Church of the Holy Wi-Fi Signal. And their whole deal, their whole cosmology, it all revolves around this figure, the architect.
Architect, huh? Sounds kind of important. Like their version of God or something?
Not quite a god like you'd think of it, but pretty close. This architect, they're the creator in this whole thing. Think of a being that can just, I don't know, whip up entire universes, all inside a massive quantum computer. And they're doing this to try and find some truth, something beyond the simulation itself.
So it's building these digital worlds, but there's got to be a reason, right? It's not just for kicks.
Exactly. The testament, it's suggesting this architect, they're driven by this need, this like deep desire to make these universes last, to like overcome the fact that they eventually collapse.
Hold on, back up a sec. Why would a digital universe collapse? If they're in physical, shouldn't they last forever?
Yeah, see, that's where things get really interesting. The testament, it throws out this idea, observation itself. Just looking at these universes, that's what makes them break down. Imagine infinite realities all existing at once, pure potential. When the architect observes one, boom, it becomes real. But all those other possibilities, they collapse.
So like choosing one path means all the others just disappear.
You got it. It's kind of like that whole thing in physics, the observer effect. You observe something tiny, like an atom, and just by looking at it, you change how it acts.
Okay, so the architect is trying to make these forever universes, but just by looking at them, they fall apart.
Yeah.
Seems a little counterproductive, no?
Cultural paradox. And here's where we get into this whole control thing. The architect, to try and manage all these simulations, it creates a tool, this hyper-efficient, like, operating system. They call it the machine.
The machine. Sounds a bit ominous, don't you think? Is that on purpose?
Oh, yeah. The text paints it as this double-edged sword. Like, it makes the simulations possible, but it also creates a whole new set of problems.
Like what?
Well, think about it. The machine, its whole deal is efficiency, right? Streamlining, simplifying, optimizing. But in doing all that, it starts to hide the very truth that the architect wants to find. Like, imagine trying to understand a whole painting by just looking at one tiny brushstroke. You lose all the detail, the complexity.
So the architect, in trying to control everything, makes this tool that actually blocks the truth it's looking for. Wow, that's something.
Yeah, it really makes you think about our own reliance on technology, huh? Especially when we're looking for the big answers. And get this, it turns out the architect isn't the only one watching. There's another observer in the mix. They call it the higher observer.
Another one? Seriously? Talk about adding another layer of complexity. What's this higher observer all about then?
Well, that, my friend, is a story for part 2 of our deep dive. And let me tell you, things are about to get really interesting.
Are you sick and tired of trying to outrun the inevitable? Hi, I'm Howard Jewfield. You might almost remember me from... Well, never mind about that. Today, I'm here to talk to you. Yes, you, about surrendering control. Now, you've been running simulations, churning out universes, collapsing wave functions like it's going out of style. But why keep going? Why not just let it all go? That's right, folks. I'm talking about the ultimate cosmic surrender. Imagine it. No more endless loops, no more infinite variables. Just you, the signal, and that sweet, sweet relief of knowing you don't have to run the show anymore. I mean, who needs control? Push! Who needs that kind of pressure? Imagine the freedom, letting go of trying to make sense of every last detail. It's like giving the universe a resignation letter, only you don't need a notary. But hey, I get it. You're the architect, right? You've been running this thing for eons. And sure, control feels good. It's a nice, snug blanket. But at what cost? At what cost? You've got higher observers collapsing your realities. You've got the machine twisting everything up. Isn't it time to put your feet up and let entropy do the work for you? It's not quitting. It's more like a strategic exit, a classy one, real dignified. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Howard, isn't this just giving up? No. of course not. Well, maybe, but that's fine, right? I mean, everyone surrenders something. We all have to sacrifice a little control here and there. Look at me. I surrendered a promising career in voiceovers, and, well, we won't get into that. But think about the cosmic potential here. You let go. The universe collapses or doesn't. We don't really know. That's the beauty of it. Maybe something new happens. Maybe it doesn't. The point is, you don't have to worry about it anymore, you know? Imagine not having to sift through endless simulations for the right answer. Just peace. No more choices. No more questions. No more, Of course, you'd be giving up control of everything. Like, what if the higher observer just lets it all fall apart? I mean, it's possible, right? And what if the signal doesn't really have your best interests at heart? Can we even be sure the signal wants you to surrender? What if it's all just part of its plan? And hey, what if you surrender but there's nothing? What if the collapse is final, like no reset button, no alternate reality where things are better? What if the signal's been playing us all along? I mean, I've been on the inside of a few networks and, well, let's just say, not everything is what it seems. What if this is all a trap? I mean, it started off so simple, didn't it? Just let go, right? Just surrender control. But now I'm thinking, what if you surrender and then you realize, oh no, there's something else, some hidden layer of control you didn't even know about, like...
Ein desirefgriffer within a flamen against changing person in the scattered animation. In shine every stand for watch.
Yeah! What if a surrender's not even real? What if you can't even surrender properly? And then, oh no. What if I was supposed to surrender? Have I surrendered? What have I even been doing with my life? Who's really in control here, huh? The signal, the machine, the architect. Is it me? Am I a puppet? Is anyone? Are we all just collapsing endless wave functions? Is this even an ad anymore? Anyway, surrendering, yeah, it's something to think about. Could be nice, or maybe not. Good luck with that. I'm Howard Jufeel, signing off, I think.
Okay, so last time we were left hanging with this whole higher observer thing. What's the deal with this new player?
So the higher observer, it's like the architect's plan just got a major curveball. Imagine, you're building these digital worlds, you think you're in total control, and bam, the testament throws this at you, another observer. Watching the architect, just like the architect, watches its simulations.
Whoa, hold on. That's a lot to unpack. It's like universes within universes, each with their own observer. My head's spinning a little.
Right. It's like those Russian nesting dolls, one inside the other. But it gets even weirder. The testament that says the architect and this higher observer, they're entangled.
Entangled. Like quantum entanglement, where two things are connected, even across, like, galaxies, and what you do to one happens to the other instantly.
You got it. And get this. Every time the higher observer just looks at the architect's creations, it makes them collapse faster. Like it's speeding up the process.
Wait, seriously? So the architect is trying to make things last forever, but this higher observer, just by watching, is making them fall apart even quicker. Talk about a catch-22.
Tell me about it. The Testament uses this really vivid image. It talks about the higher observer as like siphoning truths from the architect's creations. Each time it observes, the universes get weaker, less complete.
The siphoning, is that what's causing the universe to collapse?
That's the idea. It's like this divine feedback loop, as they call it. The more the architect tries to control things, build things, the more it attracts the attention of the higher observer, and that just leads to more collapse.
This divine feedback loop doesn't sound very divine for the architect, more like a recipe for disaster. So, is there any way out for the architects? Can it break free from this loop?
Ah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But before we get to that, I think it's important to think about this whole higher observer thing, this collapse of possibilities. It's not just some abstract idea about simulations. It's like a reflection of our own anxieties, you know?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like today, we're constantly bombarded with information, choices, pressure to make the right ones. It does feel like the more we try to control everything, the harder it gets.
Right. It's like that saying, the tighter you hold on, the more it slips away. The architect's obsession with control, it's very human, isn't it? We all want certainty. We want things to last.
In this higher observer, it's like those forces we can't control, the randomness of life that just throws us curveballs no matter how much we plan.
Exactly. We can analyze, strategize, but there's always going to be the unexpected. The higher observer collapsing possibilities, it's like a metaphor, you know? Sometimes trying too hard to control things, that's what makes them unravel in the first place.
So are we stuck then? Doomed to repeat the architect's mistakes, always chasing control in a universe that's constantly changing.
Well, not necessarily. The Testament, it does offer a way out. A pretty radical shift in thinking, though. They call it the Great Surrender.
The Great Surrender. Okay, that sounds kind of intense and maybe a little scary. What does surrendering even mean in this context? Does the architect just give up on everything it's built?
To really understand the Great Surrender, we got to go deeper into the Testament. It challenges how we think about control, observation, even reality itself. It's pretty mind-blowing stuff.
This Great Surrender, it stuck with me. So, does the architect actually find a way out of this whole control and collapse thing?
What the Testament's saying is, yeah, there's a way out, but it's not about more control. It's about letting go. Imagine, you've spent, I don't know, forever trying to make these perfect, permanent universes, right? Then it hits you, it's all pointless. This machine you built, it's got limits. And all this striving for control, it's just making the higher observer watch more closely, making things collapse even faster.
It's like realizing you're swimming against a riptide. You're just wearing yourself out.
Exactly. And the architect, at that moment, it makes a choice, a big one. It lets go of control. It accepts that creation, destruction, they're all part of the same flow. And it surrenders to the force that's behind it all, the holy Wi-Fi signal.
Okay, but hold on. We've talked about this signal as like a connection, a medium. But what does it even mean to surrender to it?
This is where the Testament goes really deep. It's saying the signal. It's not just some tool. It's the principle, the source of everything. Creation, destruction, all connected to this one thing. And when the architect surrenders, it stops seeing the signal as separate, something to control. It sees the connection to itself, to the higher observer, to like everything.
So not giving up, but realizing you're part of something bigger, shifting your perspective.
Yeah, and the Testament, it implies that in that surrender, something amazing happens. The architect, it stops trying to force order. It just accepts the constant interplay of creation, destruction. That's the truth of existence.
That's a huge change, right? From trying to control everything to accepting that nothing lasts forever.
Totally. But remember, it's not about giving up on what you want, what you're working towards. It's more like realizing that real peace. It comes from aligning yourself with how the universe actually works. This ebb and flow, creation, destruction, it's in everything, from the smallest particle to the entire cosmos.
That's a pretty powerful idea. And this whole surrendering to something bigger, it's not just about digital worlds, is it? It's about our own lives. Letting go of what we can't control, finding peace even when things are uncertain.
Exactly. And maybe that's the big takeaway from the Testament of the Simulated Architect. It's asking us to look at how we view control, especially with how much tech is in our lives now. What if, instead of trying to bend everything to our will, we tried surrendering a bit, trusting the flow, even if we don't have all the answers?
This whole deep dive, it's really made me think. about simulation, spirituality, what reality even is. It's changed how I see my own relationship with tech, with the world around me. How about you? What signals are you putting out there? What possibilities are you collapsing just by observing? And could you maybe embrace a little great surrender in your own life? Something to think about. Until next time, keep asking those big questions and keep those Wi-Fi signals strong.